Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another special session. How are we tonight? Welcome to a regular visibility session where we showcase people who are doing one thing or another for you to know what they are doing. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Mote Efe. I'm known as the King of Visibility. I help people move from being invisible to becoming visible because it does not matter what you do if people don't know you. So, welcome to tonight's session. If you're joining me, please drop a comment in the comment section to let me know that you are with me and where you are joining from. Let's make this as interactive as possible. Drop a comment. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear, if you can see me. I want to know, right? So let me know if you're joining me. Thank you for being in tonight's session. Like I said earlier on, I usually showcase different people at different times and they talk about different areas. And tonight is not going to be different, but we're having somebody special tonight that's going to be talking about property, particularly investing in UK properties, right? So I want you to sit tight and get ready. Thank you, George, Lucy. Thank you for joining. I see people already joining. If you are interested in wealth creation, generational wealth transfer, this is the kind of session you should be part of, right? So I want you to share this to your Facebook pages, your timeline, so that your friends can also know. Because if you are interested, then you have people who are also interested. So you want to share this session to them for them to also be part of it, right? So just as George Lucy has done, you can also drop a comment to let me know where are you watching from, right? Lagos, Abuja, Sokoto, Maiduguri, Port Harcourt, Benin, wherever. Let me know if you're watching us live, right? And even if you are watching the replay of this session, please also drop a comment to let us know where you are watching from. And as you learn throughout the session, engage with it by dropping your comments, right? Thank you so much. So without much ado, we are going straight into the session and I'm going to be letting us know who tonight's guest is, right? We're going straight. Who tonight's guest is. I see many of you are already joining. Thank you for joining. Please drop a comment. Let me know where you are joining from. Olusegun Makinde from UK. All right, good. I love that. From the UK. Thank you for joining. So our guest tonight is none other person than Ayodeji Nehan, popularly known as Deji Nehan. He's an experienced wealth coach, mortgage financial planner, and property investment expert. Deji is a specialist generational wealth coach, an affiliate chartered accountant, and mortgage/financial planner who has taken a keen interest in financial literacy as a means to financial empowerment, right? He's a public speaker and loves to share wisdom nuggets on topics like the psychology of retirement in the new world, property, mortgages, and holistic wealth planning. He loves to superimpose the concept and mindset of generational wealth in his speaking engagement. He's a certified money coach under the umbrella of Christian Against Poverty, and he volunteers his time and resources to educate school pupils and youth centers about money management. And that brings something to my mind. Do you know money is the one subject that is not taught in school? From primary till university, and nobody teaches you money. And yet that is the most important thing we need right here on planet Earth. Yet we are not taught that in school. So I find this interesting that, there is somebody who goes to schools to tell them about money, right? They need to learn about money from an early age. And that is what Deji does. So tonight is also the author of several books that are available on Amazon, right? Off-Plan Property Demystified, Auction Finance Demystified, Property Prosperity, and lots more. So this is the kind of person you want to follow. So while you keep joining, and I'm seeing more people joining, Carlos Samuel from Nigeria, thank you for joining, right? Thank you so much. I'm bringing up no other person than Deji Nehan. Hello, Deji. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mute. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, and by the way, I'm good. By the way, Deji resides in the UK, so that's the beauty of technology. I'm here in Nigeria, he's there in UK, and together we are we are streaming live for you to tap from his expertise. So
Power of
I'm so
technology.
glad to have him here. Yeah. Hello, Deji.
Thank you
So
for
how's your
having
day
me.
been?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
very good.
good. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So the people are here. They're already watching. We can see George Lucy from Benin, um, Kalu from Nigeria. We can see Olusegun Makinde from the UK, right? So these people are all here and they are here to, listen to you. Goodness, Chiamaka, thank you for joining. It's good to see that you are all cooperating. Thank you so much. So as you share, as you drop your comments, I'll be flashing them on the screen also. So for now,
Okay.
Deji, as a warm up,
Yeah.
why property? Why property?
Yeah.
Right.
I think
So I think that's a good
yeah, I
place to
think
start.
the simple thing
Yeah.
is everybody live in a property. Even if you live under the
Yeah.
bridge, it's still a property. So the
Yeah.
interesting part is either you're renting, you bought your property. At some point, everybody aspires to own their own property. Even if you don't have your own property, it means that you're paying someone to have accommodation. Accommodation is one of the key needs of humanity, so we can't take that away. One thing I always say in regard to that is either you have the capacity or not, starting to think about property as early as possible would put you in a good position. Because simple analogy, I say, in the UK, if you're paying rent of 1,000 monthly, that's 12,000 a year to someone else's mortgage or someone else's property. In 10 years' time, you've paid about 120,000, which is a lot of money when you consider it. So why not have your own investment and start getting that as part of your life equity? So that's really the goodness about property.
Wow.
And it's, I mean,
That's true because
just to add to that, it's a universal concept. Anywhere you go, everybody understand property. So I think,
that's good. All right. Thank you for that. I think that's a beautiful intro because everybody, when it comes to property, everybody is involved. You're either living in one, under one, or about to get one, right? So it's beautiful. Okay, so let's go into our questions for tonight, right? Um, for the Nigerian who is interested in investing in a UK property, what are the key steps, right, to start the process of buying a property in the UK for a
okay.
Nigerian here who probably has not, has never thought about that, but is now interested? What are the steps to getting a property in the UK?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. I think to keep it more simple, before I go into your question, I think it's understanding why people should invest in property. I've said it before. It's a universal concept. It's a store of wealth, and more importantly, people might wonder why are we talking about UK property? Anywhere in the world, I will encourage you to invest in property, and there are different levels of property investment. So for people in Nigeria, they might be thinking, "Oh wow, why would I invest in UK when there's Nigeria?" So it's not for everybody. I would always recommend starting from where you are. That's possibly the easiest way to start investing in property. But you get to a level where you accumulated a lot of wealth, or you're in that position to feel like, okay, you want to diversify your portfolio. So this might not be for everybody, but it's something that people need to aspire to. So in UK, a lot of things are very regulated, unlike most places that we know, especially in Nigeria. So it's a very simplified process in investing in property. Yes, there are a lot of property portal. You have the right move, you have the Zoopla, and you have a few others. So you can easily find properties that you want to invest in. And there are two ways. You can decide you want to buy it cash, or you can decide you want to go to the mortgage route. So whatever route you're going through, you have to go through the legal system. The legal system is there to make sure that they do their proper KYC, and they do their anti-money laundering just to make sure that the money is genuine. I mean, that's more important to the UK than where the money is coming. What, who has the money? Is the money genuine? And that needs to be proven by the legal system. And the legal system will do something we call conveyancing, just to make sure that the property. So one thing is checking that the person buying is genuine. The other part is checking that the property itself is genuine. So they'll go through conveyancing, go through some checks, and then that gives you that platform to know if it's the right thing to do. So that is simplified way. But if you're thinking of mortgage, then you have to talk to mortgage advisors like myself or go to banks and you can obtain mortgage. People always ask me the question, is it possible for a non-UK person, especially in Nigeria, to get a mortgage in the UK? And the answer is yes. We've done this over and over again for a lot of Nigerian clients, and it sometimes is not as difficult. There is always the need to prove your KYC and money laundering, and more importantly, your affordability. Can you afford to keep payment for a property in the UK? And I'll talk about that because there's different types of property. There's the residential property where you're living in, and there's a buy to let, which means it's your investment property. So for most investors from Nigeria, they look at the property investment, so which is a vehicle for them to increase their property portfolio, and they are getting rent from that. So it's very simplified process, but more importantly, one of the things my company do with our partners is we have an end-to-end service, which means that whatever you need to make it happen, either to set up a company if you want to go through a limited company, or do you want to open an account, we make that available to you through the end-to-end service. I can talk into that more, but yeah, it's a lot of simplified. It's not as complicated as most people think.
Okay. So those are various steps. There are different portals that they can use, and but you come in if they are looking at the mortgage side, right? If they are looking at the mortgage side of investing. Okay,
Yes.
so we know that UK, just like Nigeria or the US or any other country, there are certain regions that are attractive for real estate investment. For example, if you're in Nigeria, people are looking at Lagos, Abuja, some key areas. In the UK, is it like that, or is it anywhere that anyone can just invest in? So, what are the most attractive regions or cities in the UK for property investments right now for someone who is interested?
So again, in line with property, property is a global concept. Anywhere you go in the world, it's about location, location, location. If you get the location wrong, you've got your investment wrong. So when we talk about location, it's not, say for example, it's not the likes of maybe Lekki or Banana Island or VI. There are locations, yeah, those are very good location now compared to UK as well. It's not necessarily your London or your popular places. Those are good location, but what you want to look for an investment point of view is what is or what areas are likely to increase in value in the next 5 years or 10 years, so that you can key into that early, and then you can appreciate with those areas. So give you an example. I mean, London, everybody knows London. I mean, most people in the world know London because of the history. Yes, London might be expensive, but there are certain parts of London that are undergoing regeneration, which means that maybe they have additional infrastructure being added to them, or they have train stations, transport links, so many other things, or the council is spending money to regenerate those areas. What that means to an investor is if you come in early, you would have the potential to appreciate in value. But speaking to locations specifically, I mean, the popular locations in the UK, London, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, Sheffield, and things like that. So I always say for an investor, look at those specific hotspots. We call them hotspots that has the potential for increasing. So take, for example, Birmingham. Birmingham is undergoing a big infrastructure, which is a high speed 2. So high speed 2 will link Birmingham to London under 50 minutes or there. I'm not sure. But it's a massive project. I think it's about 2 billion. pounds worth of project going on. So if you can key into that now, it means that when the development is finished, your property would increase the value, especially if you buy within those areas. So similar stuff for Manchester. But again, one of the places that a lot of people don't look into are northern parts. So northern parts. So in the UK, you have, I mean, similar to Nigeria as well. You have northern parts, south and stuff. South is where you have your London and the rest. Midland is where you have your Birmingham and stuff. But now, if you're going further north, going towards Liverpool and the likes, you would realize that there are a lot of maybe cheaper property and more affordable property, but the returns are possibly a lot higher because the rental yield, which is the return on investment you get on your rent, is a lot more in those areas. So we try to get people to see those areas. They might not be popular to what you get on the news, but when you know about hotspots and regeneration areas, those type of places will be your area. So my key points will be places like Liverpool. Liverpool is doing a massive regeneration, 5 billion pounds worth of regeneration going on in Liverpool, and it's just finding the right spot to do your investments in there. So we've got some developers that we work with in Liverpool, and that is currently a good area. It's a good capital appreciation and it's a good rental yield. And I'll talk about service accommodation as well, just for people to understand the savvy way, smart ways to invest in property. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I I get that, because here, when you're starting, you talk about you have like the Lekki, the Banana Island. At this stage, most people cannot afford properties in
Exactly.
that area. And
Very.
even if you can afford it, what is the likelihood that you will see someone else who will come and pay more, right, in another 4 5 years time? Because they're already at their peak value at this
Yeah.
time. So
Still.
nobody wants to come and put another 4 5 billion, on a property. But probably you bought it 3 billion. You are looking for somebody who will not come and pay 5 billion. The person rather look for, a developing area that has potential for higher yields in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think
Yeah.
that should be the focus for a lot of people that look for developing areas, right? And then key into that, like you just explained. Highways are
Yeah.
coming, linking one city to another. That means that stretch is going to be filled up in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So it's better that people key into that area than trying to buy in the heart of London or in the heart of other major cities around.
Yeah, just to add to what you said, yes. So that's valid point. I mean, people would always buy in expensive areas. London,
Yeah,
people would buy in London. People would buy in Banana Island.
yeah,
But the pot of people that can afford to do that
yeah.
are small. So
Small,
for an
yeah.
investor, you don't want to limit the customer
The
base you have.
chances.
Yes, if you can
Yeah.
afford to, then that's fine. But it's a lot
Okay.
better to go to areas where you can expand on your investor base, and it means that you can get a lot more for that.
Okay. All right. Now let's go into um, the nitty gritty now. Cash, right? Funding, funding for these properties, because a lot of people will think that, does it mean I have to own, 120,000 pounds, for me to acquire a property? Do I have to own £500,000? Do I have to own this kind of amount? So, what are the financing options available for international investors? Because,
Okay.
of course, you don't necessarily have to have 100% of the money required. So, but what are the options available, particularly for those in Nigeria or from Nigeria looking to purchase properties in the UK? So, what are the financing options available to them?
Yeah, so that's one of the key reasons why, I mean, myself and companies like what I do focus on helping Nigerians, because a lot of people don't realize there's an opportunity in there. So the opportunity basically is the fact that if you want to buy in Nigeria, as you would know, you either buy and build block by block, and it could take you 2 years, it could take
Yeah,
you 5, it could take you 50 years, whatever you're doing. And everything is based on your funding. If for any reason the person dies while in the 10th year, that project could be You could be dead for as long as ever. So that's slightly different
mm,
from advanced country, and that is the advantage I want to expose Nigerians to. Again, like I said, this is not for every Nigerian, but it's something that people can aspire to, or it's something that people feel like, oh, actually, I can do this. I have this amount, I could do this. So let's get it into. We're talking about funding, so let's make it practical in terms of money. So, say for example, you're looking at a property 100,000, and people might 100,000. There are areas in the UK that you get property less than 100,000. Not in London, obviously, but there are areas, and I just want to use that for easy calculation. So let's say you want
mm,
to buy property for 100,000, which is the equivalent of 220 million thereabout in Nigeria. To get to 20 million for a lot of people will take years. Fortunately, in the UK, you can have a mortgage finance for even for foreign investors from Nigeria. And how does that work? We say between 25% and 40% deposit. What that means is if we use the example of 100,000, if you have 25,000, you can use that as your deposit. Some lenders will say 40,000. So we say to be on the safe side, we just want to make, and it's based on your profile and some other things. But just to keep it simple, if you have 25,000 to 40,000, you can actually invest from Nigeria, and you can get a buy to let investment. So that's a buy to let. Again, like I said, the buy to let is investment purpose. You are buying a property, renting it out, and getting monthly rent from that. So
mm,
that is how we work on the mortgage side of things. So and the beauty is, yes, you don't need to have a credit history in the UK. If you're buying in the UK, you need a credit history. But if you're a foreign international buyer, you don't need anything like a credit history. They just need to know that you can afford to. Again, I've talked about legal system. It has to go through KYC and anti-money laundering. And again, people wonder. I mean, there are a lot of clean and successful businesses in Nigeria, successful people, and they can afford to do simple things like this. A lot of people have 25,000 pounds equivalent that they just feel like, I don't know what to do with it or something. But more importantly, thinking about the funding is opening people to that opportunity that they will never get on their own in Nigeria. And you're having a global base where you are building credit facility for investment purpose. And when we talk about the funding, you're looking at interest rates of about 7% to maybe 8.5. Sometimes we can get 6.5% for interest rates. So when you take that again and compare it to interest rates you would get, maybe in Nigeria, you're talking about 20%, 28%.
mm,
So
mm,
there is a massive benefit for someone that is either ready now or looking into the future of thinking, okay, maybe I bought one property, a few properties in Nigeria already. Now I want to create something different. One important thing about investment, and maybe I will talk about that later, it's you get to a level of your wealth planning that you need to think about region. You don't just invest everything in one basket. Nigeria is a basket. It's just one type of investment. Different type of investment, different states and stuff, but it's still in Nigeria. So at a level, again, this is for different stages for different people, but at a level, you want to start investing in other economies, especially economies that would edge against your currency valuation. So those are things that
mm,
you want to think about the long-term gain of this. We can talk a lot more about the long-term gain of investing in a global economy, but those are the simple things. Funding is available, just to make it simple. Funding is available for foreign investors. People from Nigeria can get funding to get a mortgage in the UK. And for example, I use 100,000. Instead of taking your 100,000 to 20 million to invest in one property, you can actually invest in three properties or four properties if we stretch it. If we are just using the example
mm,
of 100,000. So
mm.
imagine having the same pot of money you would have invested in Nigeria and putting it across four properties. It just make a lot of logic that
It makes more sense. Yeah.
you are multiplying your portfolio easily with somebody else funding the project for you, and they are paying
Mm,
rent and stuff. We can talk more about rent because I know those are other things that people might want to know. But yeah, that's the basic thing.
mm.
Simple 25% to 40% to get a mortgage in the UK for foreign investors.
Okay. Now, just as an aside, um, build or buy,
So,
build or buy.
so in the UK, hardly do anybody build their property.
Okay.
So you're either buying existing property,
Okay.
which is already been built, and but one of the
So
beauty of
who builds? Who builds there now? Who builds those
so
properties?
you have small developers that they know about
Okay.
building, their job is building,
Okay.
they have quality assurance.
Okay.
So the quality of build
Okay.
is well controlled. Yes, a few people build, maybe 2% or 5%, less than that, I would say, build in the UK. It's called self-build. So
Okay.
you have to find a plot of land and then start to build on it.
Okay.
It's not for
Okay.
everybody. So it's a lot of work,
Mm.
and people would wonder, why do I want to do that? Especially if you don't have the
Do that.
expertise. So developers
Okay.
are where you get people that can afford to build maybe 20 units, some 500 units, some 1,000 units. So that's how it works. So
Okay.
to your question, build or buy, yes. The way I would apply it is with developers, you can get in early with developers. So a lot of the developers we worked with, you can get in early with them because the development might take about 18 months to 24 months. It means that if you're buying, we call this off plan. If you're buying off plan, that means they've gotten planning permission, they are ready to start the build, but it will take them 18 months. And you want to come in early, obviously they will give you the discount for doing that. What that means is when the property finishes, especially if it's generation area, like I said, looking at the right hotspot, it means that you have already locked in a lot of value in that property. And some people will just sell that on directly without even having to keep it. We can talk about that more because that's really one of the key areas we help Nigerian investors to look at. How can we help you to partner with developers, reputable developers, that you can then buy early from them, get a discount. By the time it's ready to go to the public, you can actually make a lot of profit. Maybe 20%, 30% capital growth on your property. That is a massive investment return for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. Okay. Thank you so far. All right. Now let's look at the legal side. Now, whether in Nigeria, whether in the UK, whether in the US, we know that legal issues are not issues you want to mess with, right? You want
Very
to
well.
tread carefully once it comes to the legal side. Now, um, what how do I frame this? What legal considerations should Nigerian investors be aware of when they want to invest in UK properties? What are the legal considerations?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
we may not be familiar with their legal system, right? So
Yeah.
somebody wants to know, what do I need to know about the legal system there?
Okay, thank you for that question. So, in terms of the legal part, I think one of the benefits of UK is it's very regulated and it's very structured. So, what that means is the legal parties, you can go to sleep knowing that nothing could go wrong. Why do I say that? It's just because most all um, solicitors, we call it solicitors or lawyers or something, but in terms of the property side of things, they do conveyancing, which is the same thing as lawyer or solicitors, but that's the process that is called. They are regulated and they are part of the Society of Regulated Attorneys or something. So they have a body that monitors what they do. The way it happens in the UK is that, like I explained partly before, the solicitors would be the one to take care of your KYC, anti-money laundering, and confirming that the property is genuine. It's not like what we what we know in Nigeria, where you need to go and beg someone or go to Alausa to do stuff. The genuinity of a property is online. You can check any property anywhere in UK and go to land register and you can see who owns that property. You might pay £3 or something, but you would have access to that. So it's that regulated. So all of that process, the surveyor the solicitor would take care of all of that and make sure that it is registered with the land register. And the good thing about the relationship between somebody that is selling, either a private seller or a developer or a solicitor, is the fact that they don't get the money directly. So I can't buy property from you and give you the money directly. That wouldn't happen in the UK. We all have to go through the
No.
legal system. So there's like an escrow system in place that they call it
Okay.
the client account, and the solicitors are not allowed to touch that money except when they want to exchange. So there's a stage we call, after you buy a property purchase, there's a stage we call contract exchange, where you exchange contracts with the seller and the buyer. And then there's a stage we call completion. So until the property completes, the solicitors will not, or the lawyers will not release the money to the other party. So it gives everybody peace of mind. So I want to buy a property from you. I will pay my deposit to the solicitors. They have a structure account where they don't touch it themselves. They need to get approval before they can touch it. So I put in my 25%. So let's say I'm buying from Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. I'm buying from Nigeria. I put my 25% as my deposit into the account. I'm looking for a mortgage. The mortgage advisor have sorted out the 75% mortgage. The bank would put the money in 75% into the solicitor's account, and the solicitors will now take 100% to the seller. So that's the
Okay.
exchange that happens when at the completion date. Everybody would agree the completion date, and that's when the bank would transfer the money to the solicitors. I think they have like 2 days or 5 days and stuff. So it's very, very regulated. It's very, very trusted service, because
Yeah.
even if so, let's take it to the extreme. Even if the solicitor decides to run away with your money, one, they lose their license completely. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's never happened before. They lose their license completely, but your money is protected because the regulated body will pay you
Yes.
back for that. So you don't lose out. The solicitors they will deal with that. That's not your own issue. So that's the regulation that happens. Everybody can go to sleep knowing that the system is there to protect you.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's
So just
beautiful.
just just to compare that, there's no Omonile
Yeah.
issue. There's no
Yes.
I want to go to court issue. There is no somebody has bought this land 5 times.
Five
There is
times,
no I
honestly.
built land. I need to destroy it or
Yeah.
something, because again,
Yeah.
like things happen in Nigeria where things would have been built and then demolished or something. For you to get a a planning permission, approval to build a house, and all of those things is gone through different stages. It's gone through different people. At each stage, they will sign up and say, okay, you finish this stage, then okay, approval to go to the next stage. If you don't get approval to go to the next stage, they can't move on to the next stage. So that's why, to your question, when you said buy or build, a lot of people don't build. They don't even know the skills to. So that's why people partner with developers or people buy existing property.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, there is a question I want you to quickly attend to. One of the viewers just posted a question. Even though I was going to ask for questions at the end of the session, but I think there's something you might want to just treat so that we don't lose this question. It's on your screen there, right?
Yeah, so are Nigerians who reside in the UK qualified for funding? Yes, so I'm a Nigerian and we have a lot of Nigerians in the UK, as you would know. Dr. Abimbola, good evening to you, ma. Yes, the question is depends on when you've been in the UK. So, and it depends on what route you come into the UK with. So recently, a few lenders, so okay, before now, you need to be in the UK for 3 years to be able to qualify for residential mortgage. When I mean qualify, to be able to do maybe 90% loan to value. Remember, previously, I'm talking about 75% for property investment. But if you're buying your own home, most lenders would do 90%. That means you only need to bring down 10%. Some lenders would
Okay.
do 95%. So you really need to put
Okay,
down
that's
5%.
That's buy and live in, not buy and
Yeah,
let.
the ones you want to buy
Okay,
and live in,
live
residential
in. Okay,
mortgage for
okay,
yourself
okay,
or for your family. So that's usually how it works. But if you've not been in the UK for up to 3 years, most people would then consider you as a foreign investor. So they will say you need 25%
okay,
to do that. So it's similar to a buy to let. But there are one or two lenders now that allows you, if you've been 1 year in the UK and you come in through the C COS, certificates of sponsorship, if you're in care
okay,
work, medical line and stuff, and you've been in the UK for 1 year, they would allow you to go to 90% loan to value. So for people that
okay,
possibly don't understand that more, so that's one of the benefits of investment in the UK. So like I said, Nigeria, whatever you are buying, you're building it bit by bit, or if you can afford, you go and buy a property that is already built or something. But in the UK, you can get a 10%, say for example, to keep it simple again, 100,000 property for someone living in the UK and you've lived there more than 3 years, or if you're a COS, you can get that. So you only need 10% to get a property. So you mean for
okay,
a 100 property, you only need 10,000. So that means that the
okay,
system is built on credit. So one of the things I tell people that come to the UK is try to build your credit early. So I've said it again before. Credit doesn't affect you if you are not living
can
in
you
the UK.
shed a little bit of light on that, building your credit early? Can you just, in 1 minute, just share a little bit on that for
Okay.
people to understand what you mean?
Okay. So UK is credit system like US or most advanced country. So every little thing you do either increase or decrease your credit rating. It's like credit rating, like where Nigerian, as every country has a credit rating. Like your credit rating will determine how much you can get from World Bank or how much interest you can get. So similar stuff, credit rating. So your credit rating as an individual is what you need to build. So things like having a credit card, having a loan will start making them much more valuable to the system because it means that you understand the credit system. You can use the credit system, you can manage the credit system, you can do it properly. As far as you are keeping up to date um, with your
Payments.
fees and everything you need to pay, then you will be building your credit. One mistake that a lot of Nigerians make coming from abroad is thinking, oh yes, Nigeria, they are not used to debt, they are not used to credit card, and then they don't do
Yeah, we
that
are
here.
used to cash.
It's going
Yeah.
to affect you because when you want to get a mortgage, your credit score will be low. The more
Even if
credit
you've been
fast,
paying cash, even if you've been dealing with cash payments,
yes, so it's a credit system.
uh,
So you have to
so they
use credit
want
to
you
your
to actually,
advantage.
so they want you to take the loans and pay back. That's
Yes,
basically what it is. Okay.
exactly. So as far as you are paying
Okay.
back, you are building your credit. So
Okay.
what I tell
Your
people
credit
is
system.
if you come in, you might not be able to get a credit card, but apply for 100 pounds credit card just to build your
Okay.
credit.
Your
If
credit.
you buy
Okay.
something, pay it off immediately. It's the same concept, but use it as a
Okay.
credit. And the problem for most people, if you don't know financial literacy, is the fact that life might happen or people might overdo their own stuff, and then you realize that that credit they start using it and building up, and people will get into debt and they get into trouble. So that can easily happen if you're not watchful of how you're spending your money. So I would put a caveat in there: be careful with credit. It's there to be used, but use it properly because that's where you
Okay.
can build your credit.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
It's
This
a
is
complete
actually,
different system, and people
yeah,
needs to have
mindset.
that spreadsheet.
It's a total mindset shift from what we are used to in Nigeria.
Yes,
You want to buy a
exactly.
car
And
in Nigeria, you have to take your 10 million naira there, and pay your 10 million naira in cash, do a transfer, and then go home with your car. But it's
yeah,
quite different in
yeah, you can do the
in the
same here.
developed.
You can buy cash, but
Yeah,
you're not building your credit from
okay.
that.
Your
So
credit.
if you think you're going to
Okay.
need your credit, then you have to build it.
Okay.
You can
Build
pay
your
the
credit.
same amount on your credit and then pay it off the next day. Nobody cares.
Oh, okay. No, okay.
But put it
All
through
right.
the system first so that it
The credit
registers that this
system.
person
So that,
knows how to
okay.
use and maintain their credit facility.
Credit system. All right.
And
Okay.
that's something
So
that a
let's
lot of, yeah, so I just want to say that a lot of people I deal with in Nigeria, a lot of property investors or a lot of business owners, they understand having a facility because maybe they take facility from the bank for 28% or thereabouts. So they understand when we discuss that you can get a credit facility in the UK, even if you don't live in the UK, for about 7%, 8%, they are ready to jump at it because they know that they would never get anything like that in Nigeria. And it's a way for them to use less of their own money. There's something they say, cash is king. So you want to protect your cash as best as possible and use other people's money, use the bank's money,
money.
and you can leverage on that while someone is paying the rent. So that's a smart way to think of investment.
Okay. All right. Quickly, let's as fast as we can because questions are beginning to pile up on the
Okay, let's go.
on the
Let's go.
platform. Yes. So, for those of you that have questions, please. My initial plan was to ask you to drop your questions after this Q&A that is going on, but I see you already have questions. But just do us a favor, type Q before your question so that once I'm going through the comments, I can easily tell that this person has a question. So type Q, then state your question so that I can easily, fish them out. But let's go ahead. How can Nigerian investors diversify their property portfolio globally, and what are the benefits of doing so? How can Nigerian investors diversify their property portfolio globally, and what are the benefits of doing so? Quickly, in 1 minute.
Okay, I'll touch on the benefit because I've talked about how to do that in terms of the legal system, the mortgage, and getting the property. We have a property platform that we work with selected developers that we trust that you can buy property from. So, but to talk about the benefit, I think I've mentioned it quickly the other time. It's about creating regional diversification. So Nigeria, Africa is a region. So when you invest in maybe stocks and shares, they would put it, you can invest in the US, Australia, or something. The reason for that is it reduces the risk that could happen to one region. So, one good thing about investing in property is to diversify your stuff. But one other thing, I think one key thing that a lot of Nigerians are struggling with now is the currency situation. And last year, it's a different exchange rate to what we have now. And one thing we know with property is a store of wealth, similar to what you have in gold and stuff. So investing in property gives you the access to foreign currency, especially when you start building a portfolio and you are getting rent in pounds. When you convert the money to Nigeria, a lot of businesses that we deal with, a lot of people will deal with, people have moved away from. A lot of people go on holiday. I saw the post on your wife going on holiday and stuff. A lot of people go on holiday. A lot of people do stuff in Nigeria now, and they don't want to always have to change the money they have in Nigeria to go and do something in the US or abroad. A lot of people have children abroad. It's expensive if you are constantly paying from Nigeria to sort out your children's school fees and stuff. So having that long-term plan, apart from putting your money in a more stable economy, without any doubt, we know for sure, UK economy to Nigeria economy is on a different platform. So those are one of the few benefits. Yes, you are putting security to your wealth in future. You're creating another currency for yourself so that you don't have to depend solely on naira. Nigerians are used to the cultural and the economic. We have so much economic ties with the UK, so a lot of people prefer to invest in Nigeria compared to maybe going to US or something. But a few other things, capital appreciation. I've talked about rent. Rent is good in the UK. So, but capital appreciation, property in the UK would double every 10, 10 years. But I say give it 15 years just to be on the reserve side. So that means if you buy a property for 100,000, in the next 10, 15 years, that property would have been worth 200,000. That is massive capital appreciation. And don't forget, you are not the one paying this from your pocket. Someone is paying you rent and satisfying the mortgage. And if you're investing in a good area, I talked about being smart. Some of the things we do as an end-to-end service, working with the developers we work with, is to find places that are very good location that we can do service accommodation on it. So you don't have to just rent it out to normal family or individuals. You can do service accommodation on it and you can start charging on a night by night basis. That's a very growing sector in the UK. So we've got partners that could help to make that happen. So there is a lot of rental yield that you could get from that, but more importantly, the capital appreciation is a big thing. Yes, Nigeria, people will say, yeah, I know property investment. I don't knock Nigeria property investment for anything. It's just that you want to build your portfolio in different regions. But if we want to compare, you will look like if you buy a property for 100,000 in the UK, you are likely to get maybe rent between 400 and 500. That's about 13 million 200 naira month yearly that you will get. If you put 220 equivalent in a property in Nigeria, you're not very guaranteed to get more than 5 million, 7 million or something. So you're getting double, maybe best case 10 million. So you're getting almost double what you would have get in terms of rent. And again, a lot of
Wow.
people know this. A lot of people have been burnt. You can rent something to a Nigeria and they pay the first year and the next year is a lot of trouble. Yes, that could happen here, but less of an issue. And because we work with partners, there are partners that we work with that will give you guaranteed rent. What that means is you don't worry about who is living in there. They take the property and they give you guaranteed rent. So again, we have a end-to-end service that will take care of every part of property investments that you want to think about from Nigeria.
Okay, all right. Let's quickly take this question from one of the viewers also.
Yes, so very good. Red flags. So there is a checklist that we could share with people that are interested, what to look out for in property. So sometimes we call it like snagging. If you're buying a new development, we call it like snagging because, yeah, developers might have finished their work, but you come in to check and see are there things that have gone wrong. One thing I advise people is you are not a professional. So find a professional to do it for you because you might think you are, oh, it looks fine, it looks okay. But a professional would have tools to be able to test, yes, is it the right thing and stuff. So we advise people to do property survey. So you can pay a professional to come and do a property survey for you. You can pay a professional to come and do property snagging for you. Yes, these are expenses, but as an investor, you want to make sure that you are doing things right. If it's not an investment, if it's not the right investment, we won't advise you to go into it. So put that as part of your goal. But simple things that you can look out for on your side is just look at the roof when you go to view a property, because the roof will tell you so much about the history in the house. Because there might be some leaks, there might be some movements in the roof. Look at the walls, there might be some movement in the walls. So when you start seeing movement, you want to start checking, are there been any history in that area? Is there a subsidence issue? Is there flood issues? So a lot of people might not know this, but there is a checklist that anybody that are interested, we can share.
Okay, all right. Quickly, a follow-up question. This one should not take you 1 minute. Talking about our credit system.
Yeah, so credits, if it's a credit card, it's at the end of the month. So you don't pay interest if you pay everything completely. So that's a good thing to think about.
Oh, okay. So even though
So
you
just
bought
yeah,
that
just
item
just
on credit, then you paid it off the following day within 48 hours, there's still zero interest on it.
no, not 48 hours between the months.
Within that month, that means
Yes.
there's zero interest.
Yes, your
Oh, okay.
your bank statement will come, and then you if you pay everything off completely, then you don't have to pay any interest. So that's why I said
Okay.
using other
Okay.
people's money.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay, so you've already, I was going to ask you about red flags, but I think that person's question covered that, right?
Okay.
So I want to say, okay, are there any success stories that you can share with us regarding this? That's okay, this person or this organization, they've been through this process and it is working for them. So, can you share success stories or case studies of Nigerian investors who have successfully invested in the UK properties?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of that. So I know it's not what people feel is a normal thing, but I was surprised, and that's some of the reason I'm doing this. A lot of our clients in the last few years has been Nigerian investors, and it's in different stages. Some of them already have property here, and they are remortgaging it. So again, when you buy a property, you might have it for like a fixed term. So when you come out of the fixed
Yeah.
term, you might decide you want to remortgage like for like. That means you don't want to take any money out, but you might decide you want to take money out and then buy other properties. So some of the top stuff we've been able to do is to help those investors that have already bought their property and say, you know what, why don't you think about doing a lot more rather than your money just sitting down, doing a lot more with that, and we've been able to sort of do that. A lot of other clients are new purchases. So just to talk about a bit on that, like you said from the beginning, property investment in UK should not be for everybody. Invest in Nigeria first, build build your wealth in Nigeria, and then start to think about diversifying. And again, for different people, we can tailor the advice accordingly. But one thing we've seen with people, we've got a lot of clients, two streams. One are self-employed, one are employed. So we've got people working within the oil and gas sector, banking, telecoms, that are actually employed, being paid salary. That is a lot easier to get mortgage for, if I'm being honest. And then on the other stream, we have people that are self-employed, that have their businesses, they have their companies, and some of them are Nigerian only companies. Some of them have other entities or doing other stuff in stuff. But either you are self-employed or employed, mortgage is still possible, and we've successfully done it for, again, like you said, I wouldn't obviously have the liberty to mention name, but a
Yeah.
lot of companies within the oil and gas, within banking. And a lot of times people think it's just oil and gas and stuff. There are people that are getting regular good income, have been able to create extra for themselves over years. So, for example, one of our clients have been investing in stocks and shares for a long time, even US mutual funds. And at some point, they liquefied their portfolio and they decided to put that money into property. So there's different strategy you can think about. So money comes in different stages, in different forms, in different asset types or asset class. So it's knowing how you can combine all of that to create stuff. So there are plenty success stories, but we can talk to one-on-one individual to actually say this is how this will relate to you, because this is generic, but we've successfully done it with self-employed and employed, and it doesn't have to be very high income earners that most people will be thinking.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, let's quickly run through questions because I see questions piling up. We may not be able to
Sure.
take everything because we're already 53 minutes gone. And this was supposed to be a 45-minute session. So, but let's see as much as we can take. This is the first question. Okay, how do you compare property markets in Nigeria to that of UK? I know you touched a little bit of it here and there
Okay.
during the
Yeah.
session. Maybe you just do a recap.
Yeah. So to summarize what I said before, and I'll use a simple figure because always figure makes sense to people. £100,000 of investment, we will be equivalent of 22 million. My take is 22 million yearly. Maybe you'll be getting 5 million, 7 million, or maybe 10 million if you're lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's potentially what you will get. 100,000. If you decide to buy cash, that means you just buy cash. You're not looking for mortgage. You're likely to get between 400, 500, 550, depending on the area. And depending on what you're doing, like I said, some of the people we work with, we do service accommodation with them. That means we'd increase the amount of income they can get. So take let's just take 500 is 6,000 pounds. With the current rate, let's just use 2,200. It's about 13,200. If you compare that to 5 million or 7 million, someone will get for the same amount of investment, then that shows you the difference, almost double in most cases for what you get in stuff. And you have more security in terms of the tenants. Yes, tenants could get you into trouble and not pay. But if you're a smart investor, we have things like landlord insurance. So if the tenant is not paying, the insurance will be taking care of it. That I don't think is available in Nigeria. So if for any reason you take a 220 million and somebody pays rent for maybe the first year, second year, you might have issue in the third year, you might have stuff. So that investment is a long-term plan. So when you start having issues 1 year, 2 year, you realize that the return on investment is being reduced. And that's on comparison with if you're buying cash. So let's take someone that is savvy, smart, that decide to work with us. And maybe I'll give you two example. Maybe they partner with developers. So there are projects in Liverpool or the like I said, we have special developer in relationship that we can do. Let's say they now put our funds into two properties and you are getting, they get mortgage on that. Maybe you're getting £200 on each property as net if you're just doing standard rental. But if you're doing self-accommodation, you could be possibly be getting a lot more. What that means is your capital appreciation on two properties would far outrun what you will get on one property in Nigeria. And more importantly, you will be getting double income from two properties. Let's even imagine one goes wrong, the other one is still there. So you have a lot of leverage because you are putting down just 25% and you're working with lenders that will put 75%. So your return on investment is massively higher than what you get in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. All right. Next question. Do you think the property investment in Nigeria is properly regulated? I think that question answers itself.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, there's no regulation in Nigeria. I mean, I don't say property investment in Nigeria is wrong. It's massively important for people to invest in Nigeria. I can't stress that enough. So I'm not saying, oh, because I'm in the UK. We have partnership and projects that we are in Nigeria. Nigeria is a hub that is increasing in value, that has good potential. In terms of regulation, you take your risk. So again, this is not for everybody. You might have taken enough risk in Nigeria and you feel like, okay, now I want to go to a better regulated system where I can build the future for myself and for my family. Because when we talk about property investment, the way I like to see it is generational wealth, not something you are just building and not sure what could happen in a few years. Maybe there might be a road, coastal road going through your road, your area, and then it demolishes everything you have in there. So those are risks that you wouldn't even have. If for any reason the government in the UK wants to take back a land, that means you are rich already because they will pay you a lot more for that land than it's worth to you. So I don't say it doesn't happen, but you'll be well compensated for that.
Okay, the second half of the question, in your opinion, quickly, how can we improve on prevailing situation?
Yeah, I think the systems is still lacking. Systems, the legal system in the first instance, I think it should be easy for anyone to prove the genuinity of a property or a land. That's still lacking. And I don't know.
Okay,
I
okay,
think
okay. Please, just just to cut you a bit. Do you think moving, because basically the real estate market in Nigeria, I would say 90% is just about buying land.
yeah.
90% is about buying land, then you build on your own, right? The developers are coming in right now, but most people just buy and then build. Do you think if we move to a system where it becomes regulated that only developers can buy the land and then the developers build, So there is a standard in terms of building regulation, there is a standard in terms of design, there is a standard in terms of amenities, right? And
Yeah.
then the developers hand these properties to the banks, or the banks and solicitors come in. So individuals now have to come in through either the mortgage system or payment of cash. But individual cannot buy land and build. Rather, the developers have to buy and build. Do you think that would be a better route for
Yeah.
Nigeria
So
than what is currently prevalent?
yeah, in advanced country, you don't take out the option of individual building. Like I said, maybe it's about 2% or less than 5% that is building. That's fine. That's okay.
Okay.
But the majority are people that are buying through developers. Reason being,
Okay.
the developers are big players. They are PLCs. They've got cash reserve. They are funded by people investing in them. Until we start having developers in Nigeria that is not a 20-year-old that decide to go into property and they become rich by just buying property and selling whatever, and they don't have any regulation. Developers that say in Nigeria are people that are still in the show-off market. Like, I want to buy a G-Wagon, I want to buy a Rolls Royce. If the investment goes wrong, I can take my stuff and japa. Nobody is going to take me for it. But when you're putting a better structure in place where the big funders are funding stuff like PLC. So for me, again, I'm a financial planner and mortgage advisor. I wonder why Nigerian pension system is not funding infrastructure in Nigeria, is not funding
Okay.
building of large programs. I wonder why the banks are not funding development of stuff. Like you said, if we start having big developers in Nigeria, it will become cheaper for people to buy because it's standardized. They can buy things in bulk. They are not
Yeah.
living a lifestyle of flamboyance because it's a company, it's regulated. They have a board of directors, they have investors, they have shareholders. Everything is regulated. They can afford to build 100,000 units and sell it at
Units.
a
Yeah.
profit. Profit to them, because they are doing mass, profit to them could be 10 million on 100,000 properties compared
Yeah.
to a small developer that wants to make 50 million on one unit. So it will become
Yeah.
expensive. And again, the system in Nigeria is only at the moment profitable to the developers. The people working under the developers are still in poverty mentality, or they are still in the lower cadre. The bricklayers, the stuff, yeah, bricklayer, plumbers are respectable profession. They are not mukala, come and pack sand and stuff. So when you start having the level of artisans that are qualified, that are regulated, then the quality of the build would show up for it. It's not the
Yeah.
developer that is making all the money. The money is going to go to the bricklayers, the
Yeah.
plumbers, and everybody, so that they can just feel like I don't have to.
The entire valuation, the entire
Valuation.
valuation is involved. Yeah.
I don't have to kill just one customer to make a living. I can
Yeah.
have the enough customer flow to say, okay, I have 20 customers that I'm attending to. Because the problem with Nigeria is desperation. These people get one job and they want to kill the person until they choke the person and feel like stuff. So there's no regulation, there's no government support, and it's a simple fix. And there's a lot of money to be made. Again, when you look at statistics, it say maybe there's about 17 million shortage, I think in Lagos only. So when you start thinking about it, you just feel like, okay, Lagos should not even, I mean, Lagos should start partnering with the likes of Ogun to build a city in Ogun that can house the next 5 million people. Or, anyway, there's a lot Nigerian could do, but we are not doing it.
Honest, I wish we can continue. It's getting hot, and we're already
Yeah, properties
an
double
hour
in
gone.
monetary value every 7 to 12 years. Mr.
Yeah,
Shebanjo, I greet you, sir. Yes,
yeah.
you would understand better. It's UK based. So yes,
So,
again,
yeah.
if you do your investment right, you're buying in the right location, that double could happen quicker. But I tell people, just worst case scenario, plan 15 years. But if it happens quicker, that's fine. When we say the property double, the problem people don't realize is when your property increases in value, the best thing is to leverage that and reinvest. It gets to a point where you don't
Yeah.
want to be over leveraged. So you have to look at your property portfolio and feel like, okay, maybe I need to pay down on this mortgage or something, depending on your risk appetite, depending on what age you are, depending on other factors. But generally, if you decide you don't want your money sitting in your property, you can take the money out, reinvest it into other stuff. And I tell people things early, like start getting your kids involved in property. That's why you are actually passing generational wealth. Don't buy property or don't build wealth and wanting to just pass it on to the children when they don't even know what you have been dealing with. You need to get them into the mindset and getting them to see what you're doing. So that's I would definitely encourage that. Question: for those who want to invest in property in the UK, how can one vouch for your organization to manage the investment? So I'm just one part of the value chain. Again, a lot of things are regulated. As a mortgage broker, my company is regulated to by FCA. So FCA regulates everything we do. So either you are buying in Nigeria or you're buying abroad, it's very important to go through the regulation. So that's just one part of the chain. And the money doesn't ever come to me or doesn't ever come to mortgage advisor you do. So that gives you a level of trust. Again, the solicitors, there are solicitors, you can check. Things are very simple in the UK. You can do your Google search and gives you peace of mind. So I think that would be the easier way. Do your Google search and you would have the peace of mind to know who you are dealing with. We have a lot of partners we built up over the years, and we have a lot of testimonials that we can share.
Oh, wow. I'm afraid we cannot take any more questions, right? But finally, I think this one wraps it up, right? This one wraps it
Yeah.
up. How can one reach you? Is there an event that is coming up? Is there a number? Is there a way that people can get to know more about what we've been discussing for the past 1 hour? Is there a summit? Or can they reach you directly, your organization? Just let us know.
Yeah. So I've shared my contact number with you, but for people in Nigeria, you can either send a WhatsApp message and we can have a follow-on talk. Again, this is just to open people to the possibility. Again, sometimes it's one of the key things I like is you don't know what you don't know. Because a lot of people have never thought of investing outside Nigeria before. So you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how easy it is until you have the right partner. So to contact us, you can contact us. That's the direct WhatsApp number. But we are planning an event for people in Nigeria, bringing some of the developers from UK that we have worked with that we trust to come and do a road show in Nigeria. So if you are interested in that, you just want to learn about property, you want to see how it works, or you have some money, you want to get some advice, either get in touch with our numbers, or you can register on the link below. It's bit.ly/UK Property Invest. So bit.ly/UK Property Invest. And the telephone number, either a phone call or WhatsApp, is +44 744 213 5707. So I'm happy to take your question. You can tap me up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. My handle is Deji Nehan, and someone will get in touch with you as soon as possible. We have a lot of things we can share. This is just a short insight into what is possible.
Yeah,
A lot of
wow.
Nigerians
All
answer that
right.
question.
Okay. I think is asking if there's a program or seminar to enlighten more people. I think
Yes,
from that
thank you for the
WhatsApp
question.
number, they can get more
Yeah,
information.
with a
Yeah.
WhatsApp number or register on the event page, we can set up a meeting for you
Okay.
in Nigeria. So for
So,
people
yeah.
that are in Nigeria that want to get to the investment forum, then we can make that happen for you.
All right. So thank you so much. I see them sharing their appreciation already.
Thank you,
Uh,
Mr. Samuel.
yeah. And they just say when you hear someone saying property rather than real estate, you know they are from the UK.
That's
All
it.
right. Okay. All right. It's been an interesting time. I mean, well over an hour of, I mean, just a lively session, giving of value. I mean, you've opened up my mind to really understand how the UK property works, and it's a beautiful session. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. And for you that are watching, this is a session you want to share to your timelines, to your pages for others to also watch. The replay is going to be on my page, so you can engage with it. If you are watching the replay, please engage with it as if you are watching it live. Drop your comments, what you are learning, and just keep it going. This is a visibility session. Like I said initially, it's where people can showcase what they do and enlighten the public. Yes, it requires just a bit of a token to be in this kind of session. You can see this over an hour. The standard is between 30 to 45 minutes, but then we can stretch it. If you're interested, you can always send me a DM, reach me in any of the various ways that you can, and we'll get to talk. So thank you so much, Ayodeji, for this session, and I hope
Thank you
more
for
people
having
will
us.
respond and get to be a part of it. Thank you. We're finally bringing this session to a close. And remember, like I always say, go visible or go home. Right? It doesn't matter what you do if people don't know you. That's why you need to be in a session like this. Thank you, and bye for now.
Thank you.
All right.
Really appreciate that, sir.
Yeah. Bye.